Happy Monday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devil Show, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. I'm Anthony Totri.
There you are.
Joined, as always, by Sean DePaz.
Yeah, he is.
And yet again, Shane Diefenbach, not with us today.
No, he's not.
He's busy. He's
He
at
is
Radio
busy.
Row.
Not good enough
Doing
for
his
us.
thing.
Or no, too good for us is what I
Too
meant
good.
to say.
Not good enough for
That's
us.
not what I meant to
He
say.
already
Listen,
gave
I
you
have
shit.
given Shane enough fodder for him to hate me since
man.
he's been gone. That was entirely accidental.
Since you've been gone.
You are too good for us.
Mm.
We're not good enough for you.
Well, in exchange for Shane not being here today, he
Oh.
did provide us some Kenny Dillingham content that we will get to a little bit later in the show, so definitely stick around for that. He had, I believe, an 8-minute conversation today on Radio Row with Kenny Dillingham, just talking about everything that's gone on over the course of the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, even in terms of recruiting, transfer portal, and really what's ahead for the Sun Devils. So like I said, stay tuned for that. Before we get into ASU football, though, do want to talk ASU basketball for a second, because basketball is obviously in season, and we talked a little bit on the post-game show on Saturday, right? We talked about how this team has a stretch now over the next 4 games to really set themselves up to, I would say, not necessarily make noise, but to give their big dance chances a little bit of life.
Yeah.
Because right now it feels like it's dead in the water.
It does not feel great. It feels like I feel like Jack in the Titanic, just holding on to the door. And it seems like there should be enough room on the door, but there's not currently. And I just hoping Rose, and by Rose I mean Oregon or Utah, just get out of the way and let me get on the dresser door or whatever it was.
So you teed it up perfectly. You've got Utah, Oregon, and I would say Arizona State. Those 3 teams all feel like they're the triplets of the Pac-12 right now. I would have thrown USC into that conversation probably a couple of weeks ago, but at this point, USC
They're separated a little bit.
They look clearly like the 3rd best team in this conference. So with ASU, with Oregon, with Utah, we're going to call that the circle of suck for right now. Okay, I know the circle of suck has a different meaning in terms of the Pac-12 when people beat each other, but for this purpose, let's take a look at what these teams have ahead of them over the next 4 games, right? So you've got Arizona State at 16-8, Oregon 14-10, and then Utah 16-9, and you see their respective conference records. Sean, out of these 4 teams, you see the remaining schedule. It's pretty clear that ASU has the easiest stretch.
Yeah, they're the only one that doesn't have to play a ranked team. Utah has to play 2. I forgot the number next to Arizona, but
number 4 Arizona.
Yeah, so 2 top 10 teams. UCLA or Oregon has to play USC and UCLA. ASU clearly has the toughest part, and I think that's one thing that we have kind of left out of the context or left out of the conversation about kind of this race for the fourth spot, 4th seed in the conference, is that ASU had a very difficult stretch. They have had to play all of the best teams in the conference already. Oregon, and now they have them out of the way. They don't have to play them. So this is a chance for them to kind of remake up some ground on these other 2 teams in the conference. Because, I mean, you look at it, I think ASU is better than the 4 teams they have to play, and you can't say that for Oregon or Utah. So these are a huge stretch of 4 games. And yeah, like you mentioned, it seems like they are kind of clinging on to their March Madness hopes for dear life, but it's a little bit by a thread. And so you kind of have to go out and win these 4.
Yeah, for everybody on audio, just want to go through the remaining 4 games that these teams have. So ASU is at Stanford, then at Cal, 2 very, very winnable games.
Yes.
Then Colorado, Utah. That Utah game is going to be big, and I wouldn't look past Colorado, and I wouldn't look past Stanford either.
No.
Both those teams do have some nice wins this season. You look at Oregon, they've got USC, which we've already talked about, is clearly the 3rd best team in the Pac-12. Then number 7, UCLA. If there is a team out of these 3 that would beat UCLA, I would say it's Oregon.
Yeah,
I think they match up much better than ASU or Utah. Then at Washington, at Wazoo. Can't look past either one of those teams either, especially on the road.
Yeah, up in the PNW is always tough.
And then Utah, home against Colorado. They have a weird schedule. They don't play this Thursday, but they play Saturday, I believe, Colorado. Then at Arizona, which we already talked about as a top 5 team in the nation. Then at Arizona State, that's going to be a tough game for them. And then number 7, UCLA. Which of these three teams, Sean, do you think has the most to gain from these next 4 games, and which of these teams has the most to lose from these next 4 games?
Most to gain. I mean, I feel like it's got to be. It's tough because ASU has the most to gain in the sense that they have the easiest schedule. So they could, in theory, get 4 wins, and that does a lot for them in the conference standing.
Mm-hmm.
That said, they don't really have an opportunity to get any like marquee wins, which, as we've talked about, is something that they are missing.
And Oregon and Utah both have those wins.
Yeah, I would say that Oregon has the most to gain. In a way, they have the most to gain and the most to lose. I think they have the most to gain in the sense that they have the hardest schedule. If they can come out of there with some big wins, they can have a chance to separate themselves from Utah and ASU, especially considering the fact that I would say out of these 3 teams, they are playing the best basketball right now.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, they have a lot to lose in the sense that they are playing the best basketball right now. Now they have to run through a little bit of a gauntlet that could easily knock them out of their momentum.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of that, ASU obviously has a lot to gain in the sense that they need to win these games. So if they can get 4 wins, it puts them in a really good spot. They also have a lot to lose in the sense that they, I feel like, are the closest to the edge of the cliff of these 3 teams. If they drop 1 or 2 of these games, it could be all she wrote. Utah is kind of just in the middle there. I feel like their schedule is so tough that if they lose the games, people aren't really going to think much of it. But if they can win those games, then everyone has a lot to gain here. But Utah already kind of has like a marquee win over Arizona. So does Oregon, though, I suppose. So Oregon and Utah are in 2 very, very, very similar places.
Yeah.
But I would say Oregon's playing the best basketball, so they have a lot to lose in that sense. Utah, no one was expecting them to be here. If they lose, whatever. I don't really care about Utah.
I want to get into JJ's comments for a quick second. ASU and ASU fans should table turning talks for now and focus on getting a bye in the Pac-12 tournament.
Sure.
Absolutely. That's something that we've been talking about for a while now. You don't want to look past the Pac-12 tournament because obviously you can get yourself into the big dance just by winning it.
Yeah, I mean, you could lose the rest of these games, and if you win the Pac-12 tournament, it don't matter.
But ASU basketball has never in program history won the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah.
So not a good sign. In terms of the earlier question, I think Utah has the most to gain. You figure if you can get another ranked win, whether that be over Arizona on the road or against number 7 UCLA, to either sweep Arizona, which would be wild, or to split against 2 top 10 teams in your conference, easily number 1 and number 2 in the Pac-12. That would go a long way in furthering their resume as it relates to the big dance. The team with the most to lose, I think it's clearly Arizona State, because if you drop any of these next 4 games, specifically you drop that Utah or that Cal game for 2 different reasons, you're on the outside looking in, and I don't think you get back in unless you win the Pac-12 tournament.
Agreed.
A Utah loss puts another one of these teams right above you in terms of Pac-12. Okay, if we have to say they want 5 Pac-12 teams or 6 Pac-12 teams, at this point you're like, okay, Utah has the edge over Arizona State. If you lose to Cal, you lose to arguably one of the worst teams in college basketball, a team that I want to say at this point has maybe 4 wins total on the season, not just conference wins. That would be one of the worst losses in recent memory. I would say you lose to Cal, that is worse than the Texas Southern loss. And that is worse than getting boat raced by San Francisco.
I would not say that it's worse than the Texas Southern loss because Texas Southern is bad for a non-Power 5 school. Cal is 2-10 in conference, 3-20 overall.
3-20. How many wins does Texas Southern have on the season?
I think they have 4. But Texas Southern is playing as a significantly worse competition. But regardless, losing to Cal would be folded up at that point. At that point, it's win the Pac-12 tournament of your season. It's completely over. I mean, it's probably likely that you lose any game in your season might be over, but yeah, man, God, if they lose to Cal, Bobby loses his job.
Yeah,
barring a Pac-12 championship,
because you couldn't defend it, right? No, you can't defend losing to a team that is 3-20.
Yeah,
3-20 is a football score, dude. It shouldn't be a record for a college basketball team 23 games into the season.
No, it should not. Yeah, no. That's a bad team. You cannot lose those games because now you're at a point where you obviously you have to win the games you're supposed to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you got to. And I don't think just like escaping with a win over Cal really does much either. I think
you have to kick the shit out.
Yeah, you got to boat race that team. So we'll see, because it'd be prime Sun Devil letdown spot, but we'll see.
There could be past the letdown.
Texas Southern has 7 wins.
They have 7
wins.
and
16. Yeah. So look
They're
at
not
them.
awful.
Good for the resume.
Not awful. Creighton did sneak back into the AP
Let's
top
go.
25, so that does benefit Arizona State. I don't know what Michigan's looking like these days, but I don't believe they're looking like a top 25 team.
No.
And while we're still on the topic of ASU basketball, right, you still need a marquee win. Like, even if you
100%.
win these next 4, I still feel like you have to beat either Arizona or UCLA. And honestly, out of those 2 teams, I know Arizona is your rival.
I feel better about UCLA.
Really, I feel better about Arizona.
I just think this team has played UCLA so hard over the last, 2 years. They played them so hard earlier this year. I think ASU matches up a little better against UCLA too. I don't really think ASU has much of an answer for Tabellis and Ballo if they are on.
Mm-hmm.
I think ASU's guard play could hypothetically, if they are all playing their best, keep up with UCLA, especially if they shut down Jaime Jaquez like they did last time.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, I mean, obviously they're both going to be 2 very, very tough opponents. And I would much rather have a win over U of A than UCLA for a number of obvious reasons. But yeah, either one would do.
Well, we'll see obviously what happens and transpires with ASU basketball here over the next couple of weeks. They've got Stanford on Thursday, and then they've got Cal on Saturday. So definitely keep it locked in with PHNX Sun Devils because we'll be live for both of those post-game shows, guys. I know we're waiting for the Kenny Dillingham interview. If you're in the chat, we're going to get to that here in a second. Before we do that, I want to tell you guys about the DraftKings Sportsbook app and how you can make some money on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Guys, the Super Bowl is in town. You guys should download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code PHNX. New customers can bet $5 on Super Bowl 57 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Guys, $5 on Super Bowl 57 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for more details. Sean, I don't know if you and I had this conversation yet, but it is only Monday, and I am already sick of all of the people in town.
Yeah, I don't really like it. At first I thought it was going to be really cool to be in a city while they're holding a Super Bowl, because I've never lived in a city where they're holding like a massive event like this. It's not really all that cool, especially because now if I'm like at a restaurant and I'm ordering my Four Peaks, it takes a little longer to get, and I get impatient. If I want shout out JG Wentworth, I want my Four Peaks and I want it now. And if you want your Four Peaks and you want it now, head over to Four Peaks 8th Street Pub.
Yes,
like I said, Super Bowl right around the corner. Four Peaks is a perfect beer for the big game because they got something for everybody. You got your family coming in town. Get grandma a peach ale. She'll love the subtle peach flavor.
Get granny hammered.
Yeah, absolutely. Get dad a Hop Knot IPA. Get your cousin who you like taking holiday walks with, if you feel my drift, some recreational juice dank IPA. They got something for everybody. Check them out.
Yes,
Four
sir.
Peaks.
Yes, sir.
Get it in you.
Four Peaks. Get it in you.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. We've got the interview with Shane and Kenny Dillingham. Before we get into it, Sean, anything specific that you're looking forward to in this conversation? Because we don't know.
Kenny's face.
We have no idea what this conversation was.
Nah, I'm just interested to see Kenny's energy, because like I have not seen him slip yet. Like I haven't seen him be in a moment. It's like, oh, you are human. Like you do get tired sometimes. You do get sad sometimes. I haven't seen it. He's always happy and energetic. So I'm just really interested to see the kind of energy he brings with Shano, who has energy in his own kind of energy.
Oh, absolutely. Well, without further ado, let's see what Kenny and Shane had to talk about this morning on Radio Row.
Down here at Radio Row, Coach Kenny Dillingham, thank you for joining us. Appreciate taking the time.
Of course. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, let's just get right into it. I mean, these last 2 months for you have just been a whirlwind. Is there any way you can try to just put that into words, what the last 2 months have been like?
Drinking water out of a fire hose. I mean, that's about as simple as you could put it. I mean, every single day there's new obstacles, new problems, new positives. I mean, that's the best part about this is everybody wants to dwell on how hard it is, but it's something I dreamt of my entire life. So ready for the challenge and excited every single day when I wake up.
We were talking a little bit before, and you were saying the first couple weeks, when everyone's kind of going out and doing the recruiting, trying to get their guys out of the program, you were trying to keep some guys in, talk to them. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, when I first took the job, the first thing I wanted to do was get in front of our players. So I had a team meeting with our players. Then I had them set up individual meetings. So I met with every player on our team, either individual or in small groups the first 3 to 4 days, the first week. I didn't go on the road. I didn't recruit. It was about our guys. It was about the guys in the building, the guys who were Sun Devils. And then when our staff, started to come together, it was, okay, we could go out and recruit kids, or we could get them on the phone and bring them here. And the one thing that I know about being born and raised here is this is a pretty good place to be, especially this time of year. So we need to bring kids here, show them what we have to offer. So those first 3 weeks were about bringing kids here to our campus, and they were about our players.
Definitely. You obviously know from firsthand experience the potential that ASU has from sports and just in general. What do you think has been lacking in the past, and what has this reception been like from the community lately after your activation?
Yeah, I mean, lacking, I just think consistency as a staff wanting to be here and really building for the future, not how can I have a flash in the pan of success. It's really easy in college football to have a flash in the pan of success with the transfer portal and how you can recruit in some different changes in the game. You can put a flash in the pan almost anywhere, but when you're somewhere that you want to be over the longevity of time, it has to operate differently. So I think somebody that wants to be here, a group of people that want to be here, and then fans who are going to show that support. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have some elite players in our building to watch games. We're going to have some elite players fired up to come here. But if they don't see that this isn't a program that has the support of the fan base, if they don't see the butts in the seats like I mentioned in my press conference, then it's all for naught, because they're going to show up somewhere and it's going to be a sold-out crowd with people excited, people going crazy. If we can create that environment here, right, that's one more thing that somebody can't say, why not us? And when you're recruiting, you're not checking why us, you're removing why not us. And right now, that's a problem that people are going to walk into and say, that's the reason why I can't. Us as a fan base, us as a Valley, can remove that box. And that's one of the biggest hurdles that we have.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked about the activation on our show a lot, Coach, and it's obviously not just a phrase you're using. We can truly see it happening, and it's not just for the football program. We saw you guys out at the ASU basketball game the other day. What does activating the Valley mean to you?
I mean, it just means everybody getting involved. College sports are different than professional sports. We have a huge media market here. We have all the professional sports, right? However, college sports are different. They feel different. The game days are different. That's not taking away from professional sports. I grew up a diehard Cardinals fan, Diamondbacks fan, Suns fan, ASU fan. It's just different. And kids need to feel the youth, the 3, 5, 7, 8, 10-year-olds need an environment of college sports. They need it. And it's us as a community, it's us as a Valley to give them that right here. And that's what I mean by Activate the Valley is it doesn't mean you have to donate $1. It means come out to a tailgate and then go out on Mill and watch the game there. It means what can you do personally to create an environment around college athletics here in one of the best cities in America?
Definitely. So big get this last week. Jaden Rashada is a Sun Devil. What were your conversations early like with him, and kind of what is he like as a person?
Well, one, he's an unbelievable kid. He's super low-key, as the kids say nowadays, super to himself. He obviously, it's funny I say the word low-key because his name is one of the talking points of college football. But him as a person, unbelievable person. He's about family. He wants to take care of others. When he makes decisions, it's how can I help other people? How can I help other people? How can I help other people? So that, if you had to say who Jaden Rashada is, he's an unbelievable kid who's trying to help other people, who's always looking out for other people, because that's just the nature of who he is. And how the conversations went were, Jaden, eventually in your life, you got to do something for you. You got to go to where what makes you happy. Because if you go to what place that makes you happy, you're going to be better, you're going to perform better, you're going to be happier, and you're going to have more success. So you got to be able to remove all the noise and go to a place that you want to go to and be happy, and your success will come through that.
Yeah, one of the things you talked about in your introductory press conference was being honest with kids when recruiting. Talking about kids that are here now, like quarterback Drew Pine and the other quarterbacks in the room, what has that conversation been like bringing Rashada in?
Yeah, I honestly haven't even had a conversation with them because they know I'm going to continually bring in players here that can make us better. So from here till eternity, if a kid asks, am I taking a transfer? If a kid asks, I'm taking another high school kid. If a kid asks, am I taking 2 high school kids, 3 high school kids? The answer will always be, if he can make us better, I will. Because that's how it's going to work regardless of where you go. It's just a matter if a coach is going to lie to you or not. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you what it's going to look like. We're going to bring in players that can make us better.
Definitely. Well, you're very active on Twitter as well, and as an entire staff, really. How important is it to not only be active on social media, but be relatable? Because, I saw you quote tweeting Burrito Express, adding them. What is it like? How big is that to kids?
I don't know. That's just my personality. I think the one thing that every head coach that I respect has always told me, and throughout my career, was you're a genuinely honest person, sometimes to a fault, right? You're genuine. You're honest. And then the other thing they always tell you is don't try to be somebody else. Be you when you get your opportunity. So that's just me being me. There's no filters. There's no fakeness. That's my personality. That's who I am every day. So, now that I get to run a program, that's what I would have always been, right? But I was obviously under other people who have a different light on social media. That's who I am. It's fun, right? The goal of life is to be a good person, help people be successful, and enjoy it. Let's not lose sight of that, right? It's life. Enjoy life. Help people be successful. Teach kids how to grow, but enjoy it. Otherwise, you're going to wake up one day miserable, and then the next day miserable, and that's no way to live life.
Definitely. I love that. Last question for me, Coach. You're going to take some time to unwind a little bit soon. Are you going to take a break anytime soon, or is it just go mode until the season starts?
Well, I told my wife last Friday we're going to have a half day, and then Saturday, Sunday we're going to have off this last week. So she said in honor of, the signing class that we're going to Disneyland. So ironically, she took me and my 10-month-year-old to Disneyland. So
let's go.
I don't make many decisions. She makes most of the decisions when I get home. So we went to Disneyland. We just got back in town Sunday night, so it was a good time.
Love that. Well, Coach, thanks so much for taking the time. If you ever have an opportunity to talk to Coach, it's like a substitute for coffee in the morning. It's fantastic. Coach Kenny Dillingham, I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Dillingham to Disneyland.
Dillingham.
My gosh, there's a lot to get into right there. Let us know in the chat what you enjoyed most about that conversation between Shane and Coach Dillingham, and drop that like too while you're at it, because we got almost 40 of you guys in the chat. Sean, for you, what stood out to you most? And I know you raised your eyebrows a little bit when Drew Pine's name was brought up.
Yeah, it was a little interesting to me to hear that Kenny hasn't had a conversation with Drew Pine.
Was it a conversation just in general, or a conversation about Rashada?
I mean, it was. About Rashada. I guess I don't know, but I am surprised that since the Rashada signing, Kenny has not had a conversation with Drew Pine, or any of the quarterbacks for that matter, but specifically Drew Pine, a guy who transferred in here, obviously not expecting to start, but I would say is the most talent of the guys that they had prior to Rashada.
Yeah,
probably the favorite to start. I'm conflicted on how I feel about it. My initial reaction is I don't like that. I feel like that's a conversation that probably should be had. But on the other hand, it seems like it's kind of is just that's Kenny. I think they knew from the get Pine knew from the get that him coming here he wasn't coming here with the guarantee of starting. And as long as that was kind of laid out from the get, listen, we want you here, blah blah blah, but we're not stopping. There is a chance that other guys come, and you have to be ready to compete regardless of who's here. As long as that conversation was had from the beginning, and Pine at least always knew, maybe not necessarily Rashada, but that adding another quarterback was always on the table, then I can live with it. Otherwise, it's a little unsettling.
I think, and you got to think about the guys that are already here. Right, you got to think about the quarterbacks. This isn't an Emory Jones. This isn't a Manny Wilkins. These guys are very different personalities than the quarterbacks of the past for Arizona State. You look at a guy like Trenton Bourguet. He understands a quarterback competition.
True.
You look at a guy like Drew Pine. He also understands waiting and then a quarterback competition. And then obviously Jacob Conover. We've talked about it. He's the wild card. You don't really know what you're going to get with him. I think for me, it feels like he is more of a guy that with the amount of eligibility he has left is more of like a sponge. And obviously he'll be a part of the quarterback competition, but he understands where he's at in terms of this competition based off of a Drew Pine, a Trenton Bourguet, and now a Jaden Rashada. So it's definitely going to be interesting. What stood out most to me about that conversation was the Activate the Valley, right? And I know that's been the talking point of the Kenny Dillingham era over the last, I want to say, almost 70 days now. And the way he described it, I thought was very interesting. And he's described it in the past, but a lot of people hear Activate the Valley. And to his point, I feel like they think about it immediately as, I need to go to the games, or I need to donate, or I need to do something related to ASU football. When in reality, it's just about showing support for the community and getting out there. Like he said, you don't even have to go to the game. Go to Mill. Like, surround the area, and that's what's going to get more of these recruits. That's what's going to get more of these transfers. That's what's going to get more people donating to this program.
Yeah, and I mean, energy is infectious. I think just getting people energized about ASU football is naturally going to get other people energized about ASU football. And it gets to the point where if ASU is good, it's something that you feel across the entire city. Like everyone, like when the Suns are good, for example, when they're making their finals run, like you feel like everywhere you go, you feel
everyone's
like
a Suns fan.
Everyone is a Suns fan. You can feel it in the air. And then obviously I'm not saying this team is going to be making a run for the national championship or anything like that, but already you're seeing that there has been a new energy put into ASU football. So the season's going to come around, and previously when somebody had asked, oh, do you want to go to the football game this weekend? They're like, why would I want to do that? And they're just going to lose. Like, now there's a different kind of energy. So you're getting people who might not have, like, because I mean, so a lot of people watching the show, you know, like your Res Devils, stuff like that. Like, those people are going to be here regardless. You're not trying to activate them necessarily, and obviously, you can't take their support for granted.
Yeah.
But you are trying to get, you're trying to expand it. You're trying to get everyone, activate the entire valley. It is getting those fringe people a little more excited about ASU, to which I feel like they have done a pretty good job so far. So it is very exciting. It was just fascinating to hear Kenny's kind of perspective on all of this. It is so much more than trying to win football games. It's not just about getting talent and
it's about
getting
building
out there and X and O's. It is about something way bigger than just the score of any single game.
Yeah.
And that is having a coach with that kind of perspective which is not to say that Herman Company didn't necessarily have that, but
I don't think they did, to be honest.
I mean, that's fair. Very
and
fair.
I don't know if that's we go back and forth with the Herm era, and it was doomed to fail, I feel like, from the start, simply because you look at the passion that a younger coach, specifically a guy from Arizona, has, right? I don't think you could have two hires that are bigger polar opposites than Herm Edwards and Kenny Dillingham in the sense of, you look at their age, yes, you look at the reasons for why they want to be a part of Arizona State football, which I feel like wasn't necessarily a question that Ray asked Herm at the start of the Herm era, right? I can almost guarantee you that there wasn't a face-to-face conversation between Ray Anderson and Herm Edwards where he said, hey, Herm, why do you want to be a Sun Devil? You know how I know that?
Because he didn't know what a Sun Devil was?
I was at that press conference, and he didn't know that the mascot was a Sun Devil, right? And you can feel that. You don't even have to ask Kenny for him to give you an answer as to why he wants to be here.
Yeah.
Shane didn't ask him why he wants to be a Sun Devil, and he said, I grew up being X, Y, and Z. I'm from here. I want to get people involved.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is... Because, I mean, into Herm's defense, when you're getting a guy like Herm Edwards, who is bigger than college football in a lot of ways, or at least was at the time.
Not anymore.
Like, it is at that point, the dynamic of it switches a little bit to why you should be a Sun Devil, not do you want to be a Sun Devil. With Kenny, it was like, we kind of knew even early on that this was the job that he wanted.
Yeah.
He was going to have other options. This is the job that he wanted. Back then, ASU was like, Herm was their option. Can we get him here? Now it's like, all right. It's just so different in every single way. And I mean, part of what, like we talked about the Activating the Valley thing, is Kenny he's trying to develop the next Kenny. He's trying to develop the next Kenny Dillingham. We talked about the young kids who are going to be in to have a football team to root for, to have a college football team to root for. Like that, if Kenny had grown up during the Herm era, I don't know that we are in the same position we are now. Like, I don't know he has the same love for ASU that
Yeah.
he does now. And so having a guy like this is 20, 30 years past Kenny Dillingham's time here could still be significant. It could have very, very long lasting effects.
Yeah.
So like I always say, I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself, but it's hard not to be excited when you hear a man like that talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only him talking about football, but him talking about Burrito Express
Yes.
too. I love the little BE shout out there.
Had to.
Guys, we've been on the BE train, okay?
Done half.
Go check out Burrito Express. They got locations just about everywhere in the valley. Sean and I are on the same page right now. The steak, egg, add bacon is the way to go.
I have a new favorite
You have a
Burrito
new-
Express.
What is it? Let's hear it.
Yeah,
She went out of she left the breakfast menu.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Sean texted me and Craig the other day, do you want Burrito Express on Saturday?
So I'm a good guy.
Yeah. And like, I know this is a hot take. I don't love egg in a
Okay.
burrito, but so
take,
yeah,
bad
let me
take.
go off the breakfast.
Same thing.
Steak and salsa.
Really?
Oh my God. Loved it. That's my new go-to at burrito.
And you know
Their
their
steak
salsa
goes
is crazy.
crazy.
Their
Yeah.
steak does go crazy. Steak is such a slept on like burrito meat, I think.
Yeah. And then you throw bacon in there, bro.
Yeah, I mean, the not liking egg in a burrito thing is such a bad take in my opinion. You are talking to two massive egg guys.
It's an opinion. So
Massive egg,
Yeah.
bro. We'll get into this after. I had like 14 eggs the other day.
Jesus.
Yeah, I had a lot of eggs. Yeah, I'm not even.
in this economy,
Yeah,
Literally.
Yeah, I'm not. I wish I was joking with you, but like by the end of the day, I was like, wait, I legit had 14
Yeah,
eggs this morning.
Toshi's living out of his car now, so he could bump up his egg
I've
budget.
actually got chickens running around my apartment.
Yeah, he's just growing his own
laying
eggs.
Guys, buy a $25 Burrito Express gift card, and you're gonna get a free burrito of your choice, whether that be the steak and egg, the steak and salsa, or really anything on their menu. Again, head over to your nearby Burrito Express location today and give them a follow on social at Burrito EXP.
By far the worst part of Burrito Express is their salsa is so good that I'm always trying to drench it's
Yeah.
really some salsa with a side of burrito type
Yeah.
thing. The problem is that a lot of times I'm eating them here and I am not the cleanest of eaters. So it's a little concerning when I'm sitting on the nice, more furniture recliners and I'm like dripping salsa on the recliners. But they're high quality. They can take it. If you want to get salsa all over your recliner, get it all over your more. That sounded like the worst sexual euphemism of all time.
Get salsa on your recliner.
I just meant it like that. Now get your head out of the gutter. If you want some Burrito Express salsa, I mean, keep it off the recliner. But go get yourself a more furniture recliner. Just do it. Listen to me. As good as Burrito Express
replace
is,
your salsa covered
Yeah,
recliners
recliner.
with
There
some
you
brand
go.
new, more furniture.
Precisely.
Alley-oop, and then
Precisely.
boom.
that's what we need Leah here.
Leah lays a boom. guys.
The only time I don't want Leah here is when she's giving impromptu Wildcats facts. Otherwise, I love it when Leah's here. And I love it when More Furniture is here. Check them out. Go to morefurniture.com. That's MOR furniture.com. So you can save big on the best furniture in the Valley.
Yes. All right. Question for the entire chat. Okay, all 42 of you, I need some responses in here.
Yes.
There has been a lot of transfers over the last 365 days for Arizona State athletics. You look at the football program, you look at the baseball program, you look at the basketball program, the softball program, okay? I want to know for you guys, who is the Kevin Durant of transfers at Arizona State now, okay?
So, yeah, I'm interested to see what the chat says. I know we had talked about it briefly and there was an obvious thing that came
And
up.
you're not going with the
I'm
easy
not going with
option
the
now.
easy. Well, I'm going what I think is the easy option to me, but did not immediately come to my head.
Okay.
I think it is obviously Robert Master Simone. Like he showed up and he became the best player in ASU hockey. Like all love to Josh Doan and TJ, but like Mastro, it became like he was a Hobie Baker candidate. He was one of the best players in the country. And he definitely elevated. This season is just so much worse without Mastro. I mean, I think he has at least 2 overtime game winners for the Sun Devils this year. Yeah, he was a guy that came up. He transferred here, immediately was the best player on the team, and brought the team to a whole another level. Like I would believe that Kevin Durant would do and would be should he get traded to the Suns.
Okay, I am gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with the answer then that you.
I mean, it is the second. I think the most obvious answer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be Des Cambridge.
Yeah.
Because he was he transferred in here and almost immediately was the best player on this team.
He is the maestro of the basketball team for
night
sure.
in and night out. He's the guy that you can count on scoring, which is
Except
a thing,
for the last
except for the last game, which is something that this ASU basketball team needed.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Now, there are a couple of other options that I feel like you could make a case for. You could look at the football team. You could look at a guy like Clayton Smith. I feel like that, has so much potential. I feel like he could be the best player on that defense, depending on what happens throughout the season. You could look at a guy like a DeCarlos Brooks, who, when you look over the last 5 years of ASU running backs, right, they have been the cream of the crop. They've been some of the best in the Pac-12. They've been easily the best players on the ASU offense. So DeCarlos Brooks figures to be that guy this coming season, right? So that's definitely a potential option. I think those three, between Cambridge, Smith, and DeCarlos Brooks, and then you bring up, obviously, Mastro too. I think those are all some phenomenal names that you could bring up into the conversation of potential Kevin Durant-like impact, right? Jason in the chat says, I love Washington. Warren Washington, I would say if this was a guy that was contributing as much as we want him to, if we were running the ASU offense, I think Warren would get the ball in his hand probably every other possession because we think he's that talented.
Yeah. To answer Williams' comment in the chat, I'm pretty sure Leon Marchand he started here as a freshman.
Yeah.
Because he did cross my mind. I mean, I think he's the most
Easily,
dominant.
if he transferred
yeah,
here,
I think he is the most dominant. He is the best athlete at Arizona State University, in my opinion.
He is Kevin Durant on the Thunder.
He's Kevin. Yeah. He's Kevin Durant pre-trade. Hopefully, he stays here.
God, that would be awful.
Dude, oh my God.
Let's not even get into
that.
that.
I don't even.
You could also argue. I know this is not maybe where this question was intended to go, and I'm asking it, so I guess I could go whatever direction I wanted to. But Kenny Dillingham,
yeah,
KD, right? You want to talk about somebody absolutely turning something around, right? It's got to be Kenny Dillingham, regardless of all the players that we have talked about. Kenny's responsible for getting him here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean it certainly is. It's obviously harder to do that coach to player comparison. Shout out Bear Down for just had to click on this. Had to click on this the second I saw Kevin Durant of transfers. It's almost like we did that on purpose.
Almost like we were doing our job here.
Yeah, no, and I mean also like they're left out of this conversation for obvious reasons, but baseball and softball had two very different but important off seasons.
Yeah.
Both, specifically baseball with a lot of transfers, could have a whole KD in waiting on one of those teams too. But there are a lot of, you look around, there are a lot of people who have transferred in who are making big impacts. I mean, shout out Ty Skinner too.
Yeah.
Another one. I mean, obviously women's basketball has had a very hard season, but I mean, she has been kind of a bright spot in the darkness of women's basketball season. So there is a handful of really impactful transfers across ASU athletics, which is nice. I think it goes kind of like Kenny was talking about in the thing. You get people to Arizona. It's a really nice place, and especially people who are later in their college careers, getting a chance to spend a year or two here and make an impact here. There's a reason that you can kind of see a trend across all of the sports.
Absolutely. Talking about some of these impactful transfers, whether it be ASU hockey, soon to be ASU baseball, ASU basketball, and ASU football. Guys, if you want to go check any of those players out at their respective sports, why don't you guys go check out Game Time and get your tickets through them, because you can save up to 60% on tickets when you buy tickets last minute. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. They got tickets, guys, for just about everything, and they are super affordable. And the app, the interface of it all is super easy to use. So go check it out. Again, Game Time. Save up to 60% on tickets when you buy tickets last minute. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to using Game Time to get out to some baseball and softball games. The worst part about softball last year, though, especially at the end of the season, it was so damn hot.
It was very hot.
And that was before we had any bad birdie. So
That
we didn't have, I mean, you're dripped down on it, looking beautiful and
Thank
comfy.
you. I appreciate you.
Anthony Totri, the sex symbol. Shout out Bad Birdie. You too can be a sex symbol. But yeah, no, softball was so hot. Didn't have the Bad Birdie. Bad Birdie's so nice, light, breathable. Would have been real nice. Was sweating in my like Walmart brand polo. Was not nearly as comfortable as Bad Birdie. And if you want to be comfortable and a sex symbol like Totri, check out badbirdygolf.com. Use promo code PHNX_sports15 for 15% off your order at badbirdygolf.com. You know, it's still not all that warm. They've got hoodies for you, but once it's starting to heat up, they've got polos, they've got quarter zips, they've got hats, they've got bucket hats. They have everything you can need to look good on the golf course or at home on your Comfy More Furniture recliner that you don't have salsa on. So check them out, badbirdygolf.com. Get it on you.
Guys, that's going to do it for today's show. If you enjoyed the content, give us a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow Shane, the man on Radio Row, at Shane Deef. You can follow Sean DePaz at Sean_DePaz.
A sex symbol as always.
We will see you guys Wednesday live at 2 p.m. with a special guest who's going to be joining us in studio. Keep up with us on Twitter to find out who it's going to be. For now, though, guys, enjoy the rest of your Monday. Peace.